This is Mag212, and this is the modification guide for the Nerf Zombiestrike Slingfire. So the first step is to get at the internals by separating the two halves of the shells. This can be accomplished by smashing it with a baseball bat, but my favorite method is taking a screwdriver and unscrewing all the screws. This is a little tricky on this one, so you'll have to pay attention. Once you take out all of the screws, there's a big screw right here, and I noticed that the stock is actually glued together. So what you have to do, instead of unscrewing the stock, is you take out this big screw that's right here, and that holds the stock in, so you can actually just pop it off. And then there is a hidden screw down here, which you need to take out in order to open the blaster. This gun's pretty tricky in terms of disassembling it, so make sure that you take out all the screws. There's also a hidden screw there. You might not be able to tell, but make sure you just take them all off and carefully lift the top half off of the bottom half. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is removing some parts that might get in the way. So I'm just taking out little pieces just so that I can modify it more effectively. These are the pieces I've decided to take out just for clutter. I took out the orange tip in the front, the sling mount, access door, magazine guide, and this is the dart tooth system. This is very important, and remember how this goes back together because it's essential for the function of any spring gun. Now that you've gotten everything out of the way, you're going to want to first do what you do to every spring gun, remove the air restrictor. You're going to have to remove this sled. It's similar to the Retaliator. It's a direct plunger system. This pushes this back, pushes the spring and the plunger rod back. So I'm going to be taking apart this little gear system, this gearbox, just so I can lift this top part off and get this bolt sled out. Remove that one little screw right there, and then be very, very gentle when you lift this off, because if you mess up the gears and you don't know how they go back, you're kind of in trouble, because that's how you cock the whole gun. So if you already screwed up your gearbox, this is what it looks like. This is attached. I'm just going to show you, because most people look at modification tutorials either because they broke their gun or they want to learn more about the inside. So now that you've seen how the gear works more or less, I'm going to just lift out the plunger tube like this. Be careful with the gears because they are connected in some ways. And now we have removed the plunger system, and we'll be taking out the air restrictor next. So now that you have removed your plunger tube assembly, this is the part you'll need. It's usually attached like this to the plunger tube. You just pull that right off, and the seal's pretty good on it. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking my electric drill. This is a 3/8 inch drill bit, and it fits really well, and I'm going to drill straight through there. The goal of that is to drill so that you can see all the way through the pipe, and then you'll get better airflow and better ranges. So these are the remnants of the air restrictor. I drilled it out with my 3/8 inch drill bit, and I had to remove this little piece from the bolt sled. It usually goes on like this, and I just took it off by unscrewing that screw and that screw right there, and then you can just pull it off and it goes on like this. So if you need to do that, it's probably helpful, and as you can see straight through. So now that that's done, we're going to move on to the next part. So now that we have removed the air restrictor, there are only a few more things to do. First of all, I'm going to take out some locks. This lock right here is what prevents you from pulling your trigger if the bolt or lever is over here. So basically if the bolt is not forward, and that prevents you from depriming your blaster, and it could compress your spring and ruin your gun. So all you have to do is just lift it forward like that, and it just pops out like that. It's okay if your little gear pops out like mine. All you know is it goes right on this orange post like that. And the second lock is this thing right here. Just take it out and you're good. When reassembling your gun and your gearbox, it's very important that you have it in the right position. This is what it looks like and what it should look like. So you should probably take a picture right here or pause the video and compare this to your gears, because if your gears are not in the correct position, you will probably run into a lot of problems when you try to fire your gun. It's worth noting that I'm also going to remove this tiny little piece right here. This piece is located on top of the gearbox, and it serves no function except it locks the blaster into place when you prime it, and I don't like that. And it also makes this really annoying kind of clicking sound, like when you prime it, it goes chuk chuk chuk. And I just took it out because I found it annoying. And so now, if I prime the blaster to the full extent, like that, I can pull it back. And if I decide to pull it back forward, I can do that, or I can do whatever I want with it. And it doesn't make that obnoxiously loud sound when you prime it. So now that you've reassembled the entire gun, it's time to put the other half of the shell on top of this half. The only things to remember when reassembling it is that this plunger tube should not be able to move forward. It should be secured in place, and it should only be able to move back a little bit. And when you're assembling the bolt sled and everything, it's helpful to put the plunger tube assembly in kind of simultaneously with the tip and the dart tooth, and after just kind of messing around with it, you'll get it eventually. Now all I'm going to do is reassemble it, put back the other half of the shell, reinsert the screws, and then I'm going to show you stock firing versus modified firing. Although it may not be evident from the firing demo, the performance of this Slingfire has been greatly improved by this mod. That's the end of the modification guide. Thank you for watching.